What up guys? Today I'm going to swap out the door on this 1990 Civic hatchback. I've been procrastinating at it because it's not really that fun actually. It's just a pain in the ass. And this one has been fine, but I've had this door, I don't know, probably like 7-8 months sitting on the side of my house. I recently painted it about 2 weeks ago just so the paint could kind of fade and look a little more similar to the rest of my car when I get it on here, because it's a little bit faded on top and it gets a little bit darker on the bottom. But the reason I'm replacing it is if you look here at the front, there's some damage to the door and there's a bunch of Bondo on it. And I don't know how extensive that is. So I got the door really cheap off a buddy and it's in a lot better shape. It's let me get over here. It's pretty clean throughout. There is a dent down here, but other than that, the door just has a much better appeal than the one that I currently have on my car. I will remove the fender, the filler piece, and the corner lights, and the bumper all again, just so I can adjust both of the mounting brackets on the door. Some people will try to maybe squeeze in, take the wheel off or turn it to the left for the side to squeeze in and undo those bolts holding it onto the door, but I found that when doing this by myself, it's really hard for me to adjust the door on my own, and I want to make sure it lines up properly in terms of height. That way it doesn't look like it's sagging in one area, and when it's off the car like that, it's really hard for me to get it without the fender removed. You don't have to necessarily do it like that. If you feel more confident getting in through the fender, by all means go ahead and try it out. For me to remove the bumper filler, the bumper itself, the corner light, and the fender, it'll probably take me 15 minutes tops. It's really not that difficult. I'm not going to walk you through it as I have already done the bumper replacement, filler, and fenders in a different video. If you're interested in that, go ahead and click in the upper corner. It'll show you how to get all those parts removed. Now when putting the new door on, if your door does not have the seatbelt assembly on the new one, you're going to need a specific tool which will allow you to get these two bolts off. This one is a T40. You can pick it up at O'Reilly's, AutoZone. Most auto parts stores will carry these. That way we can transfer all the parts over to the new door. We're going to do the door panel, of course. I don't need to do the window, there's already one inside there. So we're just going to do the door panel and the key lock cylinder so I can lock the car, and also the seat belt. I'm going to take the door panel off the car while it's still on. That way it's a little bit easier to access everything. First thing is the door window knob. There's normally this little clip which fits in there right like that. Sometimes it'll be that way, or it might be on this way. Whenever I reinsert mine, I always put it on this way so I can slide my pick in there and just pull it off. Once you slide that out, you can just remove the window crank. Next, let's get all the screws removed on the door panel. There's one there. 1 and 2 right there. There's one right there. There's another one inside of there if you can see it. You're gonna need to remove this one. Actually, you can leave there. I'm sorry, that's for the seat belt, but we're gonna take it off anyways because we need to slide the seat belt off the door panel. Remove this one. This one holds the panel to the door. And there's another one right here on the end. Behind the speaker cover, you're also gonna have, sometimes there'll be a screw in here and a screw in there. They may be missing. You need to remove both of those because those are also holding the door panel to the door. For the little cover behind the door handle, once you get the screw pulled out, you can just kind of pull it away. Usually it'll slide back because you see these two little notches. Those go into the little handle and they slide forward. So you can just pull it away and then shift it back a little bit and it'll slide right out. For the one at the door, I always just take a flathead, kind of pry it both sides. That way I'm not breaking anything. You can usually pop it up. And down here, the reason we remove that screw is because we need this little arm to swing loose, and basically we're going to feed this around the door panel. And once we get the door panel removed, and we're going to remove the seatbelt assembly after that. So we want this away from the door panel because it's going to stay stuck to the seatbelt. So you can pry on both sides. It's really easy. As you can see, it just has two little clips which kind of slide into the door panel. And after that, all screws removed, all little accessories removed, you can just pull at it. There's going to be little snap clips which are holding the rest of the panel on, and we're probably going to break a lot of those when we pull it off, but that's okay. Some of them are you can't save anyway. Now the last thing holding the seat belt to the panel itself is this little plastic screw here. Go ahead and remove that, and then remove the little mounting bracket that it's holding on this little rubber piece to the panel. Then you can pull this away from the panel, and you can slide the seat belt out right through here and through the side there. There's a little screw, I got it loosened. It'll pull out. See, now you can pull the plastic away, and then slide the seat belt through the panel and out the side. There you go, the panel's now free of the door. Now if you're doing what I'm doing, we're going to remove the whole seat belt mechanism from this door. There's a handful of 14mm nuts. There's one down here, there's one underneath the little pillar, there's one hidden behind the belt back there. You got one on top and another one right there. You have two 10mm holding on this little, I guess it's a little guide to keep the seat belt in the same spot, and the two T40 bolts up top. And there's also one more nut on the right side of the belt that I almost forgot to mention. Then just disconnect it. Of course, as long as the other door has the wiring still, you can just disconnect these and plug them back into the new one. If not, you're going to need to take all the wiring off of your door. Now at the front of the door, let's get the wiring disconnected. I was looking at mine, it's already popped out a little bit, but that made it easier. So then there's a little clip you need to push, and then we can pull it away. There we go. Next, remove the pin for the door stopper. It's really easy, choose a hammer. What I like to do, I'm going to shut the door all the way so it holds it onto the rear. And now remove the four 12mm bolts holding the door hinges on to the body of the car. And once you have all four removed, make sure you can hold the door by yourself because they are kind of heavy. Now it wasn't a lot of work to get here. I'm going to take off the molding, of course the mirror, all the accessories, and transplant them to the new door once I get the door installed. Let's go ahead and work on getting this new one put on the car now. Before installing my door, I went ahead and welded this bracket back up to the body of the car. I'm hoping it holds well. It might break free eventually, but I put a lot on there just to try to make it as strong as possible. Now let's try to get the new door onto the car. When I did this door, still had that little bracket for the seat belt, so I used that as a handle, and I just held the front of it, kind of lined it up, and pushed it on to the door latch. When I was putting that door on the car, I first put this into that little notch that it has on the frame, and then I lifted the back handle and locked it into place. Next, go ahead and tighten up all four of the 12mm bolts. They don't need to be super tight. I just wanted to make sure the door stays on. Get the door open, and let's get that little pin placed back in here. You're gonna need to pull this pin out and then slide in a little tab. After tightening it up for the first time, this door actually lines up very well. It's a little low, in the lines. So I'm going to adjust it just slightly before I tighten up all 4 of the bolts all the way. Since I want to raise it just slightly, this is exactly how I would do it. I'll use my floor jack and some sort of cloth in there so you don't damage the door or scratch up the paint. And I'm just going to apply a little bit of lift. Now I'm going to loosen all 4 of these. That way the door shifted. So I'm going to do a little bit more lift. Now I'm going to tighten all 4 of these where it's at and test it. Now that's too low. So go ahead and make some adjustments as you're doing that and get it lined up to where you're happy with. And here I'm happy with where I have it lined up at. It looks really good on the height for the body line there. Same with the molding line. And it slides right into place too. The only thing I could maybe adjust these little stops to keep the door, push it out a little bit more on the bottom. That's actually even a little better. Perfect. Next we're going to change out the lock cylinder. So it's really easy. There's a little C-clip on here. You just need to pry this one off. Try not to lose it in the door. Next, take this little white, it just should slide right off as well. There we go. Pop it up, just keep it out of the way. And on holding the door lock cylinder in, if you reach down in here, I use my pick again as well, there is another little metal clamp. Let me see if I can get it just like this. Okay, that helps. I pried down on one side of that little clip. This way, there we go. Now I can get and it looks just like this. What I did, I pushed down on the side and I was able to feed in my pick right there and slide it down. And then now, from the outside in, there you go. You can just feed it this way. Go ahead and get your old one transplanted to the new door. Once you have it on, test it before getting any further. Next, go ahead and reinstall your seatbelt assembly. Next, go ahead and reinstall your door panel. If you need to change any pieces like this one, it's obviously broken. It's snapped there, cracked there. I'm going to replace that with the one off the other door. And on the back of the door panel, we're going to have these little clips. Many of those may have broken or are non-existent. If you don't have replacements, you might want to source some before attempting this job. I have a whole bag full of brand new ones and I'm just going to put all new clips in there and make sure that none of them are in the door still when I put the panel back on. This piece, all it is a little, has 2 little teeth which spread open. You just gotta slide it in there and you should have that supplied little plastic screw. Go ahead and screw that back in there. That'll spread the 2 teeth and that'll hold it into position. Here's those new clips I was talking about. Got a bag off eBay. I don't know, maybe like 50 of them for 10 bucks. So slide all the old ones out And go ahead and line it up with all your brand new ones. Now remember, first thing you need to do, get the panel around the seatbelt and then feed it in through that area where we took that little plastic screw off. Now go ahead and put that little screw with its mounting, I guess a little mounting base that has the little teeth on it, put that in there and tighten it up. If you hadn't done so, make sure you feed the seatbelt back in to the inside of that little arm. Then just go ahead and remount it as you start from the front. And slide it in. Then you can go around, make sure they're lined up. Before you push them, otherwise you risk breaking some of them. It looks like. And that's it for pushing the door panel back on. And then go ahead and install everything else. Install your door handle. Install the cover. And then put all your screws in. You got 2 down there, of course there, 2 in there, and 2 for the speaker cover. Lastly, we're going to put the window crank on. But these, you don't just want to throw them on. You may want to position them however you feel is best. I'm going to match the one on my passenger side because here the window is rolled up all the way. And the crank actually is sitting there, so if the window were to like shake itself loose a little bit, the weight from the window crank won't help because when you push down here, that is actually rolling the window up. So to roll it down, I would spin it counterclockwise, and that window crank obviously isn't going to go up. So I will just put the crank on first. We're going to raise the window all the way back up. And this actually, where I put it on, is almost the same position where that one is. I'm just going to angle it down a little bit more. And what you want to do, you need that retaining clip. We're going to put this back into the crank itself. Just like that. Put on a little cover, and it looks like right about, it's a little too high. I guess that's as close as it's going to match to the other side. Now we're going to transplant the mirror. Usually there's a little cover on here that slides off, and the 2 little clips that hold that cover on usually break. I don't even have a cover. So go ahead and remove, there's a screw in there. It's a Phillips head. Go ahead and get that one loosened up and slide off the little cover. From here, you want to pry right here in this area because there's a little nipple that slides into the actual into the door itself. So we're trying to preserve that. I'm just going to pull out, maybe move the mirror. Perfect. This is that nipple I was talking about. If you pry from right here, you can just pull it straight out, and then we can just pull that cover right off. There's a little piece here that kind of, when you put it back on, we'll set that piece in there, and then you just push the nipple in. And then lastly, 3 screws. Remove all 3 of those, and your mirror will come right off. Now we want to get off the little cover, the pillar cover. So roll the window all the way down on the old door, and you want to pry this out. This is part of the weather stripping, but if you can get it out a little bit, you can usually pull from the bottom of it. I'm just trying to get a handful. There we go, like that. Just pull it away from the door. Then you'll have access to, there's some Phillips head screws in here that we're gonna need to remove. Now once you have those removed, there's these 3 clips that usually press into the door. I don't know any other way of salvaging those when you pull these off. So I'm just gonna see if I can pry at it a little bit. I don't think they're gonna be saved. Just like a CRX, there's 3 of them on there. Actually, I was able to pop them out. This one broke one little clip off there, but this one is intact. So is that. Now if you look, these 2 are broken. This one is still in good shape. I did this fix on that black CRX where I used a piece of an old credit card and I super glued the piece together. That way it would still hold this in place. That actually worked really well. So I'm gonna do the same to this, and I'm not gonna install it yet. I'll let the glue dry overnight. I will remove the mounting brackets that are on here though, because I have the original ones that I'm going to pop back in once I have those pieces fixed. If you want to see how I fix those, click in the upper right. I did a video on that CRX. It had to be like a year ago when I fixed those, and it still works very, very well on that car. Lastly, we're going to get the molding removed. Remove that 10mm nut that's here holding the molding on the end. And in the video I did about 2 or 3 weeks ago, to get this removed, easiest way, pull this piece out, pull down on the bottom, and pull up. Down on the bottom, then up. The same goes for this one. And the last one. Go ahead and get these reinstalled into position and then throw it back onto the new door. These you'll just kind of slide in and spin. You may have to correct the position, but that's not that hard. You can just slide them over with a set of pliers. And that'll be it, guys, with the exception of that door pillar. Got everything finished off and it's fully functional again. Store's a lot cleaner, has a lot better lines up here without that Bondo and those little cracks. That little dent down here, you can see it from the angle, but it still looks a lot better than the other door. I think if I ever had this car painted, they could probably just pull that and make it flat again. The paint's obviously brighter on there, has a little more shine compared to my quarter panel, you can see. That's just from the fading, and this paint's about 2 years old on the quarter. This one only a couple weeks as I let it sit out there, but I think it'll fade equally as quick sitting out here in the sunlight. That's about it. Hope that helps you guys out. If you need help changing any of those parts, this is a good guide to get anything taken care of within the door. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you soon.